Today we are about to discuss fringe benefit tax. So what do you think is the most valuable asset in any company? Is it the cash? Is it the properties? No. Employees are considered the most valuable asset, the best asset in every business organization. Employees are the labor force that contributes to productivity as well as the profitability and stability of any enterprise. Thus, making these employees motivated and happy is a necessity for every employer. That is why the corporations give these employees benefits in the forms of basic salaries, bonuses, and fringe benefits in order to compensate the hard work, promote health and well-being, and maintain goodwill to preserve, of course, the work efficiency. However, these benefits received by the employees became their income. When there is an income, you all know that there is tax remitted to the government. So generally, the compensation income is taxed via income tax rate or the withholding tax compensation, as we have discussed last time. On the other hand, this fringe benefit tax granted to the supervisory employees are subject to final tax, which is called the fringe benefit tax. But first, let us define what is fringe benefit tax. It is defined as any goods or services or other benefits furnished or granted in cash kind by an employer to an individual employee, except rank and file employees, such as but not limited to the following: housing, expense account, vehicles of any kind, household personnel such as maid, drivers, interest on loan at less than market rate. Market rate is currently at 12%, to the extent of the difference between the market rate and actual rate granted. Membership fees, dues, and other expenses borne by the employer for the employee in social and athletic clubs and similar organizations. Expenses for foreign travel, of course, if you have met the quota, you were given all paid expense trips and the like, holiday and vacation expenses related, educational assistance to the employee and dependents, for life insurance, health, and other non-life insurance, and similar amounts in excess of what the law allows. Okay, so the following fringe benefits are not taxable. Number one, fringe benefits required by the nature or necessary to the trade, business, or profession for the convenience or advantage of the employer. First, we would take note if this benefit is given for the benefit of the employee or the benefit of the employer. So benefits required by the nature are necessary to the conduct of the trade or business of the profession is not taxable. Take note, so we would look into the nature of this benefit. Okay, so because there is what we call the benefits under employer, the convenience rule. This refers to the benefits provided by the employer to the employee, but which would be more beneficial to the employer rather than to the employee. For example, Mr. A. Mr. A is a technician manager of a big electricity plant where a single power loss would bring about 5 millions of losses. Therefore, to prevent such losses, Mr. A was provided a housing benefit near the plant, near the electricity plant, which would take him, for example, in Mr. A is an employee of the Suwal Power Plant Corporation in Suwal, Pangasinan. It would take about 3 hours if Mr. A travels from San Fernando to Suwal, Pangasinan. Therefore, the employer thinks that it is beneficial for the company that Mr. A will live near the Suwal power plant. So therefore, the employer rented a house near that Suwal power plant. In that case, is the rental income or the rent of the house considered a fringe benefit of Mr. A? The answer is no. Because why? Because it is more beneficial to the employer that Mr. A lives near the power plant. So anytime there is an emergency, anytime Mr. A is needed, he can conveniently travel from that rented house to the Suwal Corporation power plant. Unlike if Mr. A lives in San Fernando, he will still travel for 3 hours just to reach that plant. So, you must take note of the nature or necessary to the trade, business, or profession, or the convenience or advantage of the employer. If it is more advantageous to the employer, it is not considered a fringe benefit tax, fringe benefit. If it is more beneficial to the employee, it is considered a fringe benefit. Another example, as we take note of the nature of these fringe benefits, we must consider that it is beneficial to the employee. As such, the benefits that are required to the nature of business or necessary to the conduct of the trade or business is not taxable because they tend to work for the business and not for the managerial or supervisory employee. Another example, education costs, scholarship. Okay, so again, Mr. A is an engineer, electrical engineer, and as such, the employer granted a scholarship to that employee. However, if this education or this scholarship involved is directly connected with the employer's trade or business, if it is related to the engineering profession, and there is a written contract between them, that their employee is under the obligation to remain in the employ of the employer for 1 year. Okay, I will let you study in America for this electrical course. However, you have to stay in the company for additional 2 years. And under that agreement, they both signed. It means they mutually agreed upon. In this case, the expenditure of the scholarship in America shall be treated as incurred for the convenience and furtherance to the employer's trade or business. So that is not considered fringe benefit. What if this electrician, okay, so since he is a good employee, he's a good supervisor, the employer gave him a farm in La Union. Take note, the power plant is in Suwal sa Pangasinan, and the farm is in La Union. Is there benefit of the employer? Or it is more on the benefit of the employee? Since the farm is so far from the employer, it is more beneficial to the employee. So that is considered fringe benefit or scholarship. Scholarships granted to the child of Mr. A, which is a college student, full scholarship from first year to fourth year. Okay, so is it more beneficial to Mr. A or to the employer? If in case the dependent scholarship is more beneficial to the employee, it is considered fringe benefits. So the cost of the educational assistant extended by an employer to the dependents, take note, to the child of the employee, shall be treated as taxable fringe benefit of the employee unless, there is again unless, the assistance was provided through a competitive scheme under scholarship program of the company. Okay, if there is a written such a Holcim gives scholarship to the dependents. However, there must be a written examination. So for those who only got top 20, I think, or top 50, will be granted scholarship. If in case the dependent no longer need to take that exam, that is considered fringe benefit. What if the dependent were part of the top 50? That's why he was granted scholarship. In that case, it is not considered fringe benefit of the employee because the dependent undergo into the exam and pass the said requirements of the exam. Again, the fringe benefit is considered taxable if the nature of the fringe benefit is favorable to the employee itself. Okay? So another example. What if Mr. A is granted a car? And the purpose of this car, sa utak ng employer, so that Mr. A can go conveniently to the plant anytime. Is that considered taxable fringe benefit? No. Because it is more favorable to the employer. What if he must return this car to the office? So Mr. A can use the car from 8 to 5 p.m. and return the car after work. So the car must be parked at the office itself. Is it considered fringe benefit? It is not considered a taxable fringe benefit. Again, because it is more beneficial to the employer. So the employee cannot use the car anytime at his convenience. It is only considered taxable if the nature of the fringe benefit is for the sole beneficial of the employee itself. Okay? So next, the fringe benefit is not taxable if the benefits authorized by and exempted from tax under special laws. Okay, so under special laws, this reservation gives due respect, of course, to the other provisions of tax and other special laws tending to provide non-taxable benefits. So this applies to those benefits that may have been existing as of the effectivity of fringe benefits in the Philippines, which is last January 1998, and those that may be later legislated. Example of this is your 13-month and 14-month pay not exceeding how much? 90,000 pesos. So if it is below 90,000, those are exempted. However, did you know and supervisory positions are not mandatory to receive the 13-month or 14-month pay bonus. So under the Constitution and under the Labor Code, only the rank and file employees are mandatory to receive the 13-month and 14-month bonus. Why? Because these managerial supervisory positions have different benefits. Next, employer contribution for the benefit of the employee through retirement, insurance, and hospitalization benefit plans. This is in relation to the private retirement benefits under a reasonable private benefit plan and the retirement benefits provided by the Labor Code of the Philippines. The provisions are covered by another set of rules for taxation so that fringe benefits tax does not apply. Can you still remember the insurance plan, retirement, retirement age or separation? Diba? Whether you have rendered 10 years of service or whether you have rendered or you have reached 60 years old. We have discussed that last time. Yeah, so that's what it means. Next, benefits given to rank and file employees, whether or not granted under the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, collective bargaining agreement. So this is every employee has the right to be part of a union. And then, when an employee is part of the union, this union makes bargaining agreement to the employer or to the company regarding the benefits and protection, welfare of every employee. So under that collective bargaining agreement, there is an agreement between the employer and the union or the employees whether or not a benefit will be granted. However, these are subject to withholding tax on compensation unless otherwise it is stated that it is tax exempt under the train law. This, if the recipient employee is a rank and file employee, then automatically the benefit is not subjected to fringe benefit tax, but to withholding tax on compensation. It is because the employee is a rank and file, and these rank and file employees are the least possible recipients. Okay, so for example, if I am a business owner, I might not be in the right state of mind if I will provide a housing or a car to my messenger, diba? Or to my managers. O, kanino ko bibigay yung housing or car? Sa messenger ko ba? Or sa manager? Diba? So, yun yung rationale between the collective bargaining agreement. Okay, then, the following fringe benefits are also not taxable. De minimis benefits. De minimis, which means small value, as defined and enumerated in the rules or regulations. So what are these de minimis benefits? The term de minimis benefits, which are exempt from the fringe benefit tax, in general be limited to facilities or privileges furnished or offered by an employer to his employees that are relatively small value and are offered or furnished by the employer merely as means of promoting health, goodwill, contentment, or efficiency of his employees. Okay, so we have 10 actually. De minimis benefits which is granted to each employee. Okay, so which are not subjected to fringe benefit tax. Number 1, monetize unused vacation leave credits of private employees not exceeding 10 days during the year. Okay, so every year, each employee, whether government, actual, or private, is granted 10. However, 5 of that leaves is a forced leave. When I say forced leave, whether you go or take leave or not, it will be deducted. Okay, and the 5 remaining leaves can be accumulated and can be monetized in the future. When we say monetize, these leave credits that are accumulated, okay, so you can monetize it, means you can convert it into cash. Cash, your prevailing salary rate. Okay, so every year an employee has 10 vacation leaves. Then 5 is considered forced leave. Whether you like it or not, you go on leave. And the remaining 5 vacation leave can be monetized or can be converted into cash based on your rate. So, As time passes by, it can be accumulated. So, a minimum of 10 vacation leaves can be monetized and not subjected to fringe benefit tax. However, if it is exceeded 10 days, it can possibly fall to your as a part of your compensation income. Why it is only possible? If it depends. If it doesn't exceed the 90,000 threshold, because the first 90,000 is tax exempt. Okay, number 2, monetized value, again converted into cash value of vacation and sick leave credits paid to the government officials and employees. Number 3, medical cash allowance to dependents of employees not exceeding 1,500 per employee per semester or 250 per month. Okay, so if there are allowances, that is 1,500 per employee per semester or 250 per month. Okay, so okay na yan. Maliit lang na bagay. No need to tax, di ba? Yan, alam naman ng government. Hindi na nila pag-i-interest ang taxan yan. Rice subsidy, dati 1,500 lang to, now 2,000 or equivalent to 1 sack of rice, which is not more than 2,000 pesos, not taxable. And uniforms and clothing allowance not exceeding 6,000 per annum, again, not taxable. Actual medical assistance, medical allowance to cover medical and healthcare needs, annual medical executive check-up, maternity assistance, and routine consultants not exceeding 10,000 pesos per annum. Okay, so there are companies that are offering medical assistance or insurance. Actually, these are insurance. 10,000 per annum is allowed or considered de minimis benefits. In excess of 10,000, it can be part, or it depends kasi ito eh. In excess of 10,000, it can be part of a fringe benefit tax if you're a supervisory level employee, or it can be part subjected to your graduated income tax if you are a regular employee. Laundry allowance not exceeding 300 per month. Then, employees' achievement awards for length of service, safety achievement, which must be in the form of tangible personal property other than cash or gift certificate, with an annual monetary value not exceeding 10,000 pesos, received by an employee under an established written plan which does not discriminate in favor of highly paid employees. So, itong mga to, loyalty incentive award. In the government, for the first 10 years, you will be given an incentive. Then another for every 5 years, you will again be given incentive. And so it depends on the company, diba? On the policy of the company. Yung ibang company, TV, binibigay nila, if you reach this length of service, 10 years, you will receive a TV and the like. So, since if it does not exceed 10,000, sige na, hindi na namin tataksan, sabi ng government. Gifts given during the Christmas and major anniversary celebration not exceeding 5,000 per employee per annum. And daily meal allowance for overtime work and night or graveyard shift not exceeding 25% of the basic minimum wage on a per region basis. Okay? Per region basis kasi every region has what you call regional tripartite wage productivity board. So this RTWPB sets how much is the minimum rate for every employee. Okay, so itong mga sinabi natin kaninang de minimis benefits, you must compute how much is the total de minimis benefits if it does not exceed 90,000 pesos. If it exceeded the threshold of 90,000, it can now be part of your income, taxable income. And so any excess of the 90,000 threshold or bracket will be part of the taxable income. There is again a note here, all other benefits given by employers which are not included in the above enumeration shall not be considered as de minimis benefits, and hence shall be subject to fringe benefit tax. Okay, so we have discussed the different types of fringe benefits. A while back, the first criteria that we should take into consideration in computing the fringe benefit tax is the nature. Okay, so the nature of the fringe benefit, whether it is for the convenience of the employee or the convenience of the employer. So it is considered a taxable fringe benefit if it is solely or majority for the convenience of the employee. Our second consideration, who receive the fringe benefit? Is it the managers or the rank and file employees? If it is the manager, so first let us define what are these managers. As you have, of course, you have discussed in your other subjects, managerial subjects, di ba? Ano ba mga subject to? Siguro yung mga development planning and budgeting subjects o kaya naman economics, management subjects. Diba? So we have 3 levels of management. The top level management, the middle level management, and the lower level management. So fringe benefits or benefits in order to boost, diba? To boost the efficiency and effectivity of the employees. These benefits are given to both the managers and the rank and file. But it is only considered taxable fringe benefit if it is given to managers. Managers are the top level management. So what are the top level management? Diba? Top level management and middle level management. Top level management, these are your supervisory employees and managerial employees. So what is the difference between managerial and supervisory employee? Managerial employee, these are the employees vested with powers or prerogatives to lay down or execute the management policies, such as to hire, to transfer, to suspend, to lay off, to recall, to discharge, to assign, or to make disciplinary actions to the employees. Diba? So managerial employees, they can lay down the policies of the business itself. While supervisory employee, those who in interest of the employer effectively recommend such managerial actions if the exercise of such authority is not merely routinary or clerical in nature, but require the use of independent judgment. Example na lang, accountant. What do you think? Accountant, is it a rank and file position or a managerial supervisory level? It depends, diba? It depends on the company, but normally, generally, accountant, may sinusupervise ba si accountant? May staff ba siya? That's the first thing you will. If wala siyang staff, that accountant is considered rank and file. But if that accountant has his staffs, and he can lay down policies, he is part of the planning, normally ang tawag na doon, hindi na accountant. Chief Accountant Officer. Chief Accounts Officer, yung CAO. O kaya naman Chief Internal Auditor. O kaya naman, diba, ikaw na yung kasali ka na sa planning ng company and you have staffs, mga accounting staffs mo, you are now considered part of the middle level management. Top level management, those are the board of directors, the owners. Yan. If you are part of the supervisorial employees or the managerial employees, the fringe benefit given to you is taxable. Taxable as, take note, taxable as final tax, which is the fringe benefit tax. But if these benefits are received by the rank and file employees, it is part of their compensation income. Compensation income will now be part of taxable income and it will be subjected to the graduated tax table. Okay, after discussing, let's now go to the computation. Ito yung mga gusto nyo, di ba? Yan, first, summary. Taxable, you are in the managerial supervisory positions. Again, it is subjected to fringe benefit tax, which is a final tax. But if you are a rank and file employee, it is subject to the normal tax, the graduated tax. How much is the tax rate? Tax rate, whether you are a resident citizen, non-resident citizen, resident alien, non-resident alien engaged in trade or business, you're subject to 35% final tax rate. But if you are a rank and file employee, again, subjected to the 90,000 threshold, any excess shall be subjected to the normal graduated rates ranging from 20% to 35%. In excess of the 90,000. For example, for the year you have received from January up to December different bonuses amounting to 100,000. How much is the taxable there if you are a rank and file? The 10,000 excess. 100,000 less 90,000. Okay, so while sa fringe benefit tax, if you are non-resident alien not engaged in trade or business, are subjected to 25% final tax. But how do we compute fringe benefit tax? First, we have to look or we have to compute for the gross up monetary value. The gross up monetary value of the fringe benefit shall be determined by dividing the monetary value of the fringe benefit as provided for in the Train Law by the percentage divisor in accordance with the following schedule. Okay, so in general, for citizen, resident citizen, non-resident citizen, resident alien, and non-resident alien engaged in trade or business, the gross up monetary value is 65%. Diba? How did you get 65%? 100 less the 35% fringe benefit tax, that is 65%. While for non-resident alien not engaged in trade or business, the gross up monetary value is 75%, 100% less the final tax rate, which is 25%. Then, after getting the gross up monetary value, we are now ready to compute the fringe benefit tax. Again, 35% general, 25% not engaged in trade or business, and for alien or Filipino individuals employed in foreign petroleum service, contractors, subcontractors, 15%. Okay, so those are the applicable tax rates. Naintindihan niyo ba? Hindi masyado, no? So, let's have, this is the formula. Ito lang tatandaan yung formula. Fringe benefit tax is equal to gross up monetary value times the tax rate. Tax rate either 35% or 25%. Gross up monetary value, 65 or 75. So, how do we compute for gross up monetary value? So, gross up monetary value is your monetary value divided by 100 less the tax rate. 100% less tax rate. Ito lang. Dalawa lang yung tatandaan yung formula. First, you have to compute for the gross up monetary value. Then, you just multiply it with the tax rate. Kaya ganyan. So, how do we compute naman for the monetary value? Diba? As in, saan natin kukunin itong monetary value na to? So, the monetary value, it depends. Okay? It depends. There are rules actually. First, if the fringe benefit tax is granted in money or directly paid for by the employer, diba? As we have said kanina, it can be through money, through paying of expenses, magbabayad siya ng maids or helper, o kaya naman, he will be the one who will pay your utilities, for example, in your house. Diba yun yung binigay niya? O kaya naman rental mo. Rental mo dun sa inupahang bahay, example natin kanina. So, the fringe benefit granted is in the form of money. The monetary value, if in case money, is the amount granted or paid for sa mga utilities, maids, or sa kung anumang klaseng expense yan. So, again, if the fringe benefit is granted in money or directly paid by the employer, the monetary value of the fringe benefit is the amount granted or paid. That is the face amount. So, let's have example. Juana, a resident Filipino citizen, manager of ABC Company, received a cash benefit of $39,000 for calendar year 2019. The first question, who is Juana? Is he a managerial position? Is she in a managerial position or is she a rank and file employee? Yan, tama. So, Juana, as stated, is a manager. So, that 39,000 will be subjected now to fringe benefit tax. How do we compute? First, we have to get the gross up monetary value. Diba? So, again, if it is paid in cash, the face amount, kung magkano yung binayad. So, the market or the monetary value is 39,000 divided by 100% plus 35%. 35%, it is a fixed rate. So, 39,000 divide 65%. So, the gross up monetary value is now 60,000. That is just the gross up monetary value. And the gross up monetary value is already computed. We can now compute for the fringe benefit tax. So, the formula for fringe benefit tax is the gross up monetary value times tax rate. Since she is a resident citizen, the tax rate will be 35%. So, 60,000 times 35%. So, your fringe benefit tax will be 21,000. Okay? So, if you will ask, how much is the fringe benefit? Okay? How much is the fringe benefit of Juana? Magkano sasagot mo? If the problem is asking for the monetary value of the fringe benefit, of course, you will answer the 39,000. That is the monetary value. However, if we will ask the gross up monetary value, it is 60,000 pesos. Why gross up? Because the 21,000 is the tax. Diba? The tax itself of the fringe benefit. Binawas na agad. It is directly deducted by the employer before giving the fringe benefit to its employee, to the manager. Okay, so who pays the tax? Diba? According to the Section 33A of the NIRC, National Internal Revenue Code, the fringe benefit is a final tax on the employee's income to be withheld by the employer. It is the company that is liable for the fringe benefit tax and not the employee. Okay, so who pays? The employer pays directly the fringe benefit tax. As an employer, you are required to file the fringe benefit tax using the remittances using BIR Form 1603. How often? On a quarterly basis. So therefore, WANA is no longer required to report this 39,000 cash benefit on her income tax because it is already subjected to final tax and na-withheld na agad ng employer and si employer na ang mag-remit kay BIR. So again, if it is a cash benefit, face amount or the value received. So fringe benefit tax is a final tax, therefore the employee is no longer required to report such income to her income tax return. The employer, as the withholding agent, must remit to the BIR. When is this fringe benefit tax paid? Again, as I have said kanina, as a final withholding tax on the employee, the fringe benefit tax is withheld and paid by the employer on a calendar quarterly basis. BIR Form 1603. The journal entry will be journal entry of the employer, payroll expense account, fringe benefit 60,000 debit, and a credit to withholding tax payable 21,000 and cash of 39,000. So at the end of the quarter, kapag babayaran na yung tax, of course, it will be a debit now to withholding tax payable 21,000 and cash of 21,000 to record the remittance of the tax fringe benefit tax withheld. Okay, clear tayo pag cash? Pahirapan naman natin. What if the fringe benefit received was in the form of a real property? If it is in the form of the real property, there are two possible scenarios. First, if the ownership of the real property is transferred to the employee. It means that the land title, for example, the real property is a land or house. If the title is passed to the employee, the legal rights, the titles passed to the employee, the monetary value of the fringe benefit will be the market value. How do we assess the market value? There are three criteria. It can either be the fair market value, the assessed value, or the zonal value of the property as determined by the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue pursuant to the Commissioner's power to prescribe real property taxes. Okay, so the market value is either fair market value, assessed value, or the zonal value, whichever is higher. Bakit yung higher yung kinukuha? Higher yung kinukuha para higher the tax, diba? So the general rule of taxation, general rule of the government is whichever is more beneficial to the government, yun ang kukuhanin nilang tax. Okay, second scenario, what if this real property granted or furnished by the employer is only right to use of frac? You can still remember sa law 1, which is right to use of frac. Right to use of frac is right to use. You can only use the property but you cannot own it. At the end of your term, pag nag-retire ka or at the end of this term, ibabalik mo rin kay employer yung property. For example, the house. You were given a house But at the end of your assignment, or after you retire, you will return the house itself. Or if it's a car, after 5 years, you will return the car to the employee. Yan. So, those are the two possible scenarios. Kanina, the legal rights and the ownership is transferred to the employee. And second, the legal rights and the ownership remains to the employer. However, the right to use is given to the employee. How do we compute for the monetary value of that? If in case the employer only granted the employee the right to use of frac or the right to use, we will consider the depreciation value of the property. Depreciation value of the property is computed as fair market value or the assessed value or the zonal value divide 20 years. Well, 20 years. It is stated in the government code that the useful life of a real property is estimated at 20 years. Okay? 20 years. So, yan yung formula. Divide 2. Bakit divide 2? What's the logic? Because there are two owners of the property. First owner is the one who holds the legal rights and the title. And the second owner is the one who is given the right to use of frac or to use the property. Kaya, divide 2 yung value ng property. So, let's have an example. So, further appreciate or to further understand, during 2019, ABC Company gave the following to Miss Frenchie, a competitive manager. House in Cebu, the construction cost is shouldered by the employer. So the amount is 3 million pesos. Lot where the house is erected, where usufruct of 30 years is given, 4,500,000. Take note, the house is given already today, employee. Diba? Kasi wala na ibang sinabing problem. However, the lot on which the house is erected is only given right to use of frac. You can only use it for 30 years. So, 4.5 million. Diba? At the end of the 30 years, ano kaya mangyayari sa bahay? Ang mangyayaring possible scenario is either ibenta ni employer yung lupa o kaya naman ibenta ni employee yung bahay ka-employer. And she is also given, diba, swerte, agricultural land where title was transferred to Frenchie. Barbara Frenchie kasi yung pangalan. Yan, Frenchie yung apelido na kanina. 900,000. So, wala nang ibang isinabi. So, yan. How do we compute? Take note, yung pangatlo, land title were already transferred. So, how much is the monetary value? The first one, walang ibang sinabi. So, the ownership of the house is implied that it is given to the employee. Diba? So, house in Cebu, so we're considered the whole amount, 3 million pesos, since wala namang sinabing zonal value or assessed value. Market value na lang yung sinabi ng construction cost, 3 million. Ito, dito tayo magkakaproblema. Lot where the house is erected, usufruct. So, there is only right to usufruct. The ownership is not transferred, but you're allowed to use the property. So, the formula will be the fair value of 4.5 million divide 20 years, the useful life of the land. Alam naman natin walang useful life land, pero For problem purposes, sabi ng government, 20 years ang prescribed useful life of a real property. And after getting that, we divide it by 2 because there are 2 owners. So we will get 112,500. And the agricultural land transferred na yung title. So the ownership is transferred. So we will get the whole amount of 900,000. So the total monetary value is 4,012,500. Ito na ba yung multiply natin sa tax rate? By the way, is Miss Barbara French a resident citizen, a non-resident citizen, or alien? Since the problem is silent, Miss Barbara Frenchie will now be considered a resident citizen at a tax rate of 35%. Why? Since 35% is the higher rate, it is more beneficial to the government, so it will be followed. The burden of proof lies on Miss Barbara Frenchie if he could prove that she is a non-resident alien not engaged in business. Okay, so si Miss Barbara ang mag-prove nun. The burden of proof lies to her. So if wala siyang ma-present na documents na isa siyang NRA and ATB, she will be considered a citizen with a tax rate of 35%. So ito na ba? 4,012,500 naman multiply natin sa 35% rate? No. We will first compute the gross up monetary value. Ayan, this is the formula. Gross up monetary value. So you have given the monetary value of 4,012,500. Divide 65% to get the gross up monetary value of 6,173,076.92 centavos. Then, this gross up monetary value will be multiplied to 35% to get fringe benefit tax of 2,160,576.92 centavos. Dali lang, di ba? Actually, sobrang dali lang ng fringe benefit tax. What if? Paano naman? What if it is not a real property? What if it is a personal property? Halos same lang sa real property yan. 2 scenarios. If the personal property, ano ba mga personal property natin? Cars, equipments. Personal property are movable property. Real property are immovable